This afternoon's session is going to be about transacting business with the Ghana card. I'm going to be your MC for this afternoon. I'm Catherine Akosua-Dimado from the Information Services Department. And I will just begin right now by inviting Mr. ACI Francis Palmdeti, who is the head of corporate affairs at NIA, to take over the session. Thank you.
Once again, you are welcome to the International Conference Center, where we are having the plenary discussions. And this section is actually dealing with transacting business with the Ghana card. So you're all very welcome to this session. We'll be tackling a few points of relevance for this particular topic. We'll be looking at the uses, benefits, and security features of Ghana's ID cards, citizens and non-citizens, use of biometric verification services, standards and data protection requirements for use of Ghana's verification platforms, harmonization and integration of existing identification registers, approved NIA fees and charges, and roadmap to registering eligible citizens and non-citizens. This afternoon, I would want to achieve one objective, and it is that before we leave here today, we must have a broad understanding of the essence of the Ghana card and how useful it will be in transacting business in our country. On my immediate right is Professor Kenneth Agyeman Atefua, the Executive Secretary of the National Identification Authority. Shall we put our hands together as we welcome him? On my immediate left is Mr. Moses Kwesi Baden Jr., CEO of the Margins ID Group, representing the private partner Identity Management Systems. Shall we put our hands together for him? On my far right is Madame Patricia Edusei Poku, the Executive Director of the Data Protection Commission. Shall we put our hands together for her? And on my far left is Madame Justina Lane. She's representing Mr. Philip Oredu, who's the CEO of the Cal Bank. She is the Group Head Corporate Banking. She's the Group Head of Corporate Banking at Cal Bank. Shall we put our hands together for her? We would first start one round of questions. We'll be looking at some broad topics about the subject, and then we'll take Mr. Asamoah's presentation and demonstration. When we are done with that, we'll take another round of questions, and the floor will be open to the general public to also ask questions of interest. So my first question would go to the Executive Secretary of NIA, Professor Atefua. It's basically Professor, what is the Ghana card and why should we register for the Ghana card?
Thank you very much, Mr. Palmdeti, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The Ghana card is a biometric identity card issued by the National Identification Authority on behalf of the Republic of Ghana to every Ghanaian living in Ghana and every Ghanaian living outside Ghana, as well as every foreigner living in Ghana who is here for 90 days or longer and who is not a diplomat or the representative of an international non-governmental organization. The Ghana card, in short, is an ID card issued to a person that the NIA determines to be eligible for the card. And it is for the purpose of ensuring easy identification of that person. The ID card bears biographic as well as biometric information of the individual. Biographic information refers to information relating to your name, sex or gender, parentage, nationality or citizenship, age, height, those kinds of things, date of birth, schools attended, all of those kinds of information that we take. And the biometric information relates to information having to do with your fingerprints, with your face, and with your iris, as well as your ears, or any other quality or attribute relating to your biology. Those kinds of information are taken, placed on a chip, and some of it reflected on the card. And the purpose is to ensure easy and reliable identification of the individual. In short, Ghana Card is a card that every Ghanaian and every foreigner living in Ghana must have in order to ensure the social, economic, and political inclusion of that individual in a modern Ghana.
Thank you very much, Prof. My next question goes to Mr. Baden. You've been in the ID business for a very long time, close to 30 years. Why have you been in this business? And how crucial is identity to our existence on the planet?
That's a very broad question. Let me attempt to make it relevant for our purposes to the Ghana Card. Primarily, in order to be able to give any effect to the rights that people have, individuals, groups, associations, corporates, countries, we have to be able to identify them uniquely as members of a group. Now, when we identify them as members of a group, that allows us to extend to them the rights, privileges, and also to exact from them the duties and obligations that are attached to the duties and the obligations that are attached to that identity. So, in any country, in order to be able to effectively plan and use your resources efficiently and to enable an enhancement of the rights of citizens, you have to be able to uniquely identify them, have biographic and biometric data, as well as other relevant information that aids your plan to achieve a certain vision, and to be able to optimize your resources so that you don't waste them. If you understand the segmentation of that demographic, for instance, if we're going to do free SHS, we have to know exactly which age of people are covered. And identification with the necessary data allows us to plan our resources so that when we launch that project, it becomes effective. So identification is important, especially in the context of developing countries. Now, for the past 30 years that I've been in this industry, identification has changed. When we started our business 30 years ago, we introduced identification into Ghana in the sense of a laminated substrate with security features that people look at that cannot be tampered with. And once you show that ID, people look at it, and so it's genuine, and they accept the identification information that's on the card. Now, over the 30 years, identification has changed dramatically. We've gone from a fiduciary document where people can identify you and test the genuineness of the document, which is another science altogether, to dictate fakes and so on, and thereby give you access to your rights and duties as a citizen. Today, on the cusp of the fourth industrial revolution, everything is digitized, including identity. So, as a developing country, we now have the opportunity to use these digitized platforms to better enhance how governments give services to its citizens and enhance e-commerce, how industries deliver services, products, and solutions to people based on a digitized identity. So that's what's happened over the 30 years. Now to the Ghana Card. The problem that developing countries have, and Ghana is no exception, is that we have silos of data that are not harmonized. And in this data, people are putting false identities in the different data. So there can be several people at the same time. And this has a negative impact on our socio-economic political development. So if you take in terms of, say, the banking sector, where Justina works, people can take loans from Bank 1, Bank 2, Bank 3, under different names because the data is not harmonized. And then they default. The macro effect of that is that your risk goes up, the country risk goes up, there are defaults in the banking sector, and your interest rates goes up because the bank cannot tell whether the people in the different silos are who they claim they are. The effect of fake and double identities in countries, organizations, and corporates creates the avenue for malfeasance and crime and undermines the integrity of any country. And that net effect can go to terrorism and all that. If you look at the Kenya bombing, for instance, the reason why the terrorists were able to bomb the mall in which some Ghanaians died was because they used fake identities to gain access to secure places.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Madam Patricia Edusei-Poku, this goes to you. How important is identity to the work you do as a commission, a data protection commission? How important is identity to your core mandate?
Hello. Okay, good morning. Thank you, all of you, for being here. The Data Protection Commission is the institution that has been put together by government to ensure that your rights as an individual is protected. And that's a fundamental human right that you all have, the right to privacy. In order to ensure that you are actually being given that right, we need to be able to uniquely identify you as Mr. A or Mr. P. And to be able to do that, you need to have some identifier. That is why IDs are very important as far as our work is concerned. And in this day and age, a digitized ID is even more important because it needs a higher level of security to ensure that it constantly, uniquely identifies an individual. And so that is why we would collaborate with the national institution that creates that ID and also the professionals that generate the ID, because we have an interest in ensuring the unique identification of individuals in order to protect you.
Thank you very much. I would want Madam Justina Lane to also have a bite. How important is identity to the work you do?
Okay, thank you. So for the financial sector, Moses was kind enough to talk about the negatives where you have people borrowing, you can't really identify who is who. You don't have systems that corroborate all the data that you have. And then it makes it very difficult for your lending processes. But I will take it a step further and talk about financial inclusion. Majority of the country are unbanked. And the reason why is because people don't even have ID cards. They don't have any form of identification. The best you may find when it comes to number would be the voters' ID cards. And if you have voters' ID cards, you can bear with me, it doesn't have a lot of data on there. So 5 years ago when you had your card, you were 28 years old, and that's what it will say on your card. It doesn't have your date of birth. It doesn't have a lot of information. So for the financial sector, being able to verify and authenticate the data and being able to say that Mr. Y is really Mr. Y makes it very exciting that you have some form of identification that is national. And of course, then, like I said, reaching out and providing economic value to people who typically do not benefit from some of the services that we can offer from the financial sector, just by virtue of the fact that we can't identify them, makes it a good enough reason why we feel that identification, and especially this Ghana Card project, is it's a good project.
Thank you very much. I'm sure some of you who have just joined us will be wondering, maybe from the program you can tell that we are talking about the transacting business with the Ghana card. On my extreme right is the Executive Director of the Data Protection Commission. And on my immediate right is Professor Kenneth Atefa, who is the Executive Secretary of NIA. On my immediate left is Mr. Moses Baden, CEO of the Margins Group. And then we also have Madam Justina Lane of CalBank. Now, the reason why we've put together this panel is because, like they've all spoken about, data is important and data has value in this day and age. And NIA is going to gather data. And we believe that our collaboration and our relationship with the Data Protection Commission would go a long way to help us secure the data and also process the data in a way that is lawful. Identity management systems we have here today because they are partners of NIA. We started this journey in 2006. The relationship has evolved 2012, and now it's a full-blown relationship, and we are moving forward with this relationship. So the current project we have in NIA, as in the Ghana Card project, is a partnership between identity management systems and the National Identification Authority. That's why you have the two personalities here. CalBank has a very interesting story with this project. They have supported the project from day one, I'm told. They are still with the project. They are also key stakeholders in the usage of the card. Like she rightly said, there are challenges with identifying our people. Lots of people in this country are anonymous. At this point in our program, we would invite Mr. Andrew Asamoah, who would take us through a presentation on the verification platform. He will tell us what the verification platform is and what everything we need to know he will provide.
Okay, to start with, I'll show you the agenda for the presentation. Well, so what I plan to do is to explain to you or give you an insight as to what verification is. Then I will briefly touch on the enrollment process, the features of the Ghana card, the purpose of our verification platform, what kind of services that we'll offer on the platforms, a little bit about data transfer, reporting, and when the delivery of the platform will happen. So to start off with, the central theme of what NI is doing is verification. And verification, these are basically from the dictionary. It tells you that verification is the process of establishing the truth, accuracy, or validation of something. So in this case, the something is us as people. And also the process by which NIA is doing this validation is part of the systems that we use for the enrollment and the systems that we'll provide to the stakeholders to do the verification when you want to transact a business or receive a service. So basically, in the enrollment process, there are 3 steps. The first one is where the person provides information about their identity. And as Prof just said, we will collect biometric information, which is your fingers, your face, and your iris. And then we collect biographic information, which relates to your name, your date of birth, gender, place of birth, etc. Now, when we collect this information, we instantly process the information because we need to be sure that you haven't tried to, or you haven't already been given a Ghana card. So we make sure that all processing is done. If you pass all the tests, then a card can be printed. So this processing, instant processing, is a very important part of the technology that we use to ensure that everybody gets only one card. Okay, the diagram we see is showing the Ghana card. Unfortunately, it's not too clear, but when you go to the NI stands, they have these brochures on the stands. So you can all pick one up and read in detail But basically, just to try and explain, we have things like, if you look at the picture, you have a small outline of Ghana. That is created using what we call optical variable ink. That means if you place it under light, it changes color. Then also we have the emblem of ECOWAS. We have, because the Ghana card is actually part of a treaty which covers West Africa. So the Ghana card is an identity document which you can use within the West African sub-region. We have the Ghana flag, which shows that this document actually has been produced in Ghana. We have other features which actually are the same as what you see on money. You know, the fine lines that you see on money, although they look like naked lines to the naked eye, they are actually words, they are text. So if you get a magnifying glass, you'll be able to see the Republic of Ghana and other words that are actually printed on the card. And then we have other security features. So it's quite important as the first part of verification when you look at somebody's card is that you can actually look at the card itself and then you can begin to do your own verification. And then when you turn the card over, there are other features showing, for example, an image of the eagle, which is on the right-hand side. You have the person's signature. In the case where the person can't sign a signature, you will see what looks like a fingerprint. So people use their thumb where they can't sign. We also have emblems which show that the card is a passport. So every Ghana card actually is a passport. That's what enables you to travel within the West African sub-region. And then you have a symbol which shows that the card can be used as a device where you can touch another device and you can transfer data. The card also has some electronic secure features which protect the data which is written to the chip. So this is quite important to ensure that nobody can just take your card and use it as if they were you. They would need to have information like your fingerprint to enable to access the card. And at the bottom, what you see is what we call an MRZ. The MRZ, for those of you who have a passport, is the same information that you see on an ordinary passport. Okay, so the purpose of the platform, first of all, is to help to verify your identity. So, for example, if you walk into a bank, they should be able to know who you are, and then you give them your Ghana card, and they may ask you that they want to take a picture of you or take a fingerprint, and then this could be matched either against the card or against the central database. The second purpose is to do with data transfer. Mr. Baden talked about having different silos of data all around the country and people having different identities in each silo. So the verification platform will enable us to transfer data to all stakeholders who are legally mandated to receive data from NIA, and that will enable them to clean all those databases to remove all of the fraud that currently exists. And then the data sets that are transferred are determined by the law that creates that organization. So, for example, if we are transferring data to National Health, they have a law which created them, and that law will determine what data they need to do their business. So all of the recipients of data from NIA should also be members of the data protection. So to go into a bit more detail, we have an online verification platform. This is where you are able to contact the backend directly using technology. So basically, for example, like a bank, you would need to have a communication link direct to NIA. They will also need to have a fingerprint scanner, which can take either single or multiple fingerprints, and a camera, which will be used to take a portrait picture. They will also need account credentials which allow them to connect to NIA. And NIA will provide a unique identifier for every single transaction that takes place. We have also an offline verification system. This system will utilize an Android device which enables verification against your card. And we'll do a demonstration of this at the end of my presentation. So for the data transfer service, we will push data to agreed stakeholders, for example, DVLA, National Health, SNIT, etc. And these jobs will be run at times to ensure that they don't impact the performance of the system. And they will be done via a secure and fast connection, such as a fiber link. So the online verification will be done through what we call APIs. The stakeholder will provide information through like a web browser connectivity. And for example, if the person has their card present, you do what we call a one-to-one verification. So the person will provide their national ID number and either their face, they take a picture of their face, or they provide a fingerprint. This will then get sent to NIA, and then the system will respond. Now, if they find a match of your finger against that national ID number, then we will say that we know you. It will also enable the banks to do things like KYC, i.e. know your customer. So when they need information about you, i.e. your name, your date of birth, your gender, your address, etc., NIA can send that data to them so they can also have a record of you on their systems. The same for facial verification. So they can decide just to take a picture of you instead of taking a fingerprint. All of the pictures that we take during enrollment are facial recognition ready, which means that they can be used for comparison within a technical environment. There will also be instances where you may not have your card with you and you want to transact business. So we can do what we call a one-to-many verification. And that would allow you to give all of your fingerprints or your face, and the system will search the whole database and see if it finds you. So the system will respond to the stakeholder with one or three types of responses. The first one, a notification, is just to say, yes, we know you, or no, we don't know you. The second one is the KYC, which is a detailed data set, which will give the stakeholder ability to store this information in their databases for their operational activities. And where a customer needs a data set which we haven't provided, we will talk with them and agree on the format of that data set. But what's most important is that there will be unique code generated by NIA for all transactions. This will serve as an audit. For example, from a banking perspective, if the Bank of Ghana want to check if a bank has done KYC on all their customers, they can get the list of all verifications done by the bank, and they can go to the bank and get their list from their database and see if the unique codes match up. Okay, we also have offline verification. So what that means is, for example, we have a device which looks like a mobile phone and enables you to do a verification, but without connecting directly to NIA. You do not need a network, you just need a device which has some secure software provided by NIA and the person's card. Now when you use the card, you will also provide a fingerprint or take a picture of you, which will show in a demonstration. And that will allow the person who wants to know who you are, whether this card actually belongs to you. This transaction will also produce a unique identifier, which can be used for reference purposes. The system will also provide a variety of reports to enable all stakeholders who contact the NIA system directly to know what they have done. So for example, in the past week, how many verifications that they did, where they took place, what the results were, what the time of the verifications, etc. It will also allow NIA to do further data processing, i.e. analytics and data mining, to understand what is happening within the ecosystem for verification and allow us to improve the system and provide better service. Now, we expect the first part of the verification platform to be available in mid-March this year, which is roughly about 7 weeks from now. And that delivery will provide the one-to-one, one-to-many reporting, audit trail, and the transfer of data sets to the relevant stakeholders. There will be a second delivery which will allow relevant stakeholders to provide updates. Now, for example, today you have an address and you may move. You may go to the bank does the KYC, and the KYC gives you your old address. You should have the ability to tell the bank, actually, I've moved, this is the proof of my address, and then the bank should be able to send that information to NIA to update your data. That will provide you with the convenience of not having to go to NIA, but where you do your business, you can update your information. So then when you go to do another transaction, the current information can be shown or given to the stakeholder. So at this point, my guys will do a demonstration. So what I need is somebody who has a Ghana card, if they can move to the side of the stage. Anybody who has a Ghana card? So actually, we need two people. We need somebody who has a Ghana card and any other person. Please go to the... So if you can please go to your right. Okay, so what is happening is that my colleague
I think we have the number we need, right? Okay, that's okay. So the rest can take a seat.
Okay, so my colleague has taken the person's Ghana card, has put it into the Android device, and it is reading the data from the card using the specialized software. So what you see on the screen now is the picture that was taken during enrollment and some other information like his name, his date of birth, and his Ghana card number. Okay, so what is going to happen now is that he will now take a picture of somebody else.
1 second.
It's on the screen. Oh, sorry. So you can look at the screen to see what is going on.
Okay, just hold on a second. We have the commissioner here, the Data Protection Commissioner. She's asked me to ask them whether they've given their consent to display their information up there. If they have, then we can proceed. Have you? Okay, madam, they have. Thank you. Please proceed.
Okay, now, so he's taking a picture of somebody who does not own that card. So the system has taken his picture, and actually it shows some additional information about the person who is standing in front of the camera. So now my colleague perform a match. Try to match this picture with the picture on the card. So what it shows, if you look at the screen, it's in red, so it's not too easy to read, but it says no match. So what it says is that the picture of the person that he just took is not the owner of the card. So now he will take a picture of the owner of the card.
With the spectacle.
So the picture has been taken, and we'll now do a match. And so what you see in green, it says that this is a match. The technology has proven that this is the card owner. So if you want to see this demonstration again, they're on NI stand. You can go along with your card and a colleague, and you can do this as an exercise, just to confirm to yourself that the system works. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Shall we put our hands together for this presentation and demonstration? I don't know whether they want to take a question from, maybe they want to ask you a question directly, so just hang in.
Yes, Kelvin Chumberma, a student of Accra High. I wanted to ask, the software that they use in matching these pictures, how do you obtain it?
Okay, the simple answer is that we developed the software.
Did you get the answer? They developed the software. NI is private partner. They developed the software, so it's something developed internally. We didn't purchase it.
Just to add, I think he wants to know how does he get it, and that's what I had. But in any case, this card has 3 profiles, right? There's a passport profile, there's a EID profile, and there's a match on card profile. Now, all these are international profiles. So, in actual fact, if you have either an Android or even an Apple phone, if you go to App Store or the Google Store, and you download any passport reading app, you can actually read your own card. And the one that is the most efficient that I like is a product called Read ID. So if you have an Android, go to Read ID, download it, and if you have your the right version of an Android device, if you put the card behind, if you read the MRZ, it will give you the key to open the chip. And then if you put your card behind the Android device, it will actually read your passport for you. It will show you the passport data on it. It will show you your e-passport number, which is on the card. And these are things that you can read, but that's all you can do. You can't do any more because NIA has put certain security certificates that does not allow you to go beyond just reading the information. So it might be of interest of you if you like software and you have a Ghana card to download that if you want your own app, and you can read your own card and those of your friends. Thank you.
Okay. I just want to add, is that this, what my boss just explained about the ICAO part, is an internationally open standard which exists on every passport and is at every airport around the world. So in order for us to comply with international standards, that is why we have that profile. But there is more information on the card which cannot be read through that profile. So just to give everybody some comfort that the fact that you can download this app does not mean that you can read everything on the card.
If a student of Accra High School, please, I want to know if it's necessary to carry the Ghana card everywhere you go to.
Well, thank you, young lady. Yes, it is extremely important to carry the Ghana card with you everywhere you go. It's extremely important to also ensure the security of the card as you carry it along with you. In the worst case scenario, it makes for an easy identification of its bearer in the event of an emergency. If you fall into a coma, if you got into an accident, if there was some situation where your identity had to be quickly determined, just by the card and your face, we can do that verification. That identification. If it is necessary to go beyond facial recognition to do another level of identification, such as fingerprint, that can also be done. But a more compelling reason why you ought to carry it along with you is in those circumstances where, for example, you fall sick, you go to hospital, you don't have your national health insurance card with you. By the presentation of the Ghana card, the health facility can determine that you are a bearer or a registered NHIA member, that you are under their insurance scheme. If the police were to stop you, ask you for your driver's license, and you don't have it on you, but the police have a reader, by tapping the card on the reader or swiping it, an image of your driver's license will pop up on the screen of the reader. and the police will be able to tell that you are a certificated driver, you are a legitimate driver. And similarly, if you were to present yourself for voting and you didn't have your voter ID card, but you are a registered voter, by swiping or tapping or going through some verification system, the image of your voter ID card would come up to confirm that you have it. And so doing your banking service would also be easier because the bank can readily verify. But since you do not know all the complex circumstances under which you may need to prove your identity, just even being stopped by the police or by anyone and asking, who are you? You needing to prove in order to gain access to certain premises. The card has all the electronic and security features that will facilitate your easy access. That is why we say that this is the card for connectivity, access, and innovation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Okay. I need to hold on with the question and answer session. We actually have a question and answer session. I have some questions for my panelists. I want to exhaust those questions, and then I come back to you. So, Moses, I know you wanted to comment on what has just been said. You have the bite. Now, with this verification, I believe that Moses, Mr. Baden, and Professor Tefa would have some view or idea about how this platform would serve various sectors and various industries. I want him to throw light on what his expectations are.
Okay, the comment I wanted to make, that it's very important that once you're here, you go to the NIA stand and see what is there. Because Prof said when you swipe, you can see all the information. And understand that when he's been on radio, people have asked me, is Prof really speaking the truth? Are you sure you can do that? But right at the stand, if you go, you'll see two ladies on the stand. If you give them your national ID number, they put it in the system that they have, which is connected to NIA as we speak. All the information that you presented at NIA, your passport, your driver's license, you see images of all of that on there. So the harmonization that Prof is talking about is happening right now. And I want you to go and verify for yourself that if you give your name and your date of birth, even if you don't have your card, they'll bring up the data and you will see all the information that you presented to NIA. So this is not some theory. Please try it out for yourself when you go to the NIA stand. Now coming to the verification. I don't know whether I should come to your banking first. You talked about financial and social inclusion. Today, because the NIA card can be verified both in a contact and contactless format, it covers the whole range of applications. So the thinking behind the design is exhaustive. If you talk about banking.unbanked, at the end of this process, when you put a card behind your phone and you hit CalBank's platform, for instance, and you want to open an account, it will say put your national ID at the near field communication part of your phone. You put it there, it will read it, and it will confirm the certificate on it is valid and it's a national ID. It will immediately open a digital banking account and immediately populate all the KYC information. You don't need to do anything. Are you with me? It immediately populated. And then whatever information is CalBank centric, you can add that and you have an account. Because there's a payment application, what you call a common payment application, all that it means is that this is an application for money, debit, credit, and wallet. So this is on the national ID card. When that is activated, and because of the government's interoperability that has just been completed, it means that your mobile money account, your bank account, and so on, and across telcos has already been integrated. So that's what the Vice President keeps talking about. This integration now allows you to even deposit money either directly from your Ghana card or your bank or your mobile money wallet and transfer in between and have your identity verified at the same time. Because we know through the biometric, because you either take a picture of yourself like Andrew did here, it will confirm and the NIA code will be there for the validation. It must be you 100%. So we can put all the unbanked people don't need to get up from their villages and go to the banks. You can do that at government centers where digital services are offered if you don't have a phone. And you can do it on your phone, wherever you are. So you can imagine what a leap forward we will make in financial and social inclusion with this digitization. And because people can be verified across multiple networks, they do not need to pay anybody a bribe to get any government service. Let's talk about passports. There's already a passport on the Ghana card already. So we have your passport profile, right? So if you hit the Ministry of Foreign Affairs site and you say you want a passport, it says put your Ghana card behind it. It extracts the information that you have. Or it goes online and gets the information because you already have a passport on it. It links your Ghana card e-passport to your normal passport. It knows you have two passports. It asks you to pay. You pay. Then it opens up a list of places that you can pick up and what service you want. In my view, just talking technology, not talking any other bureaucracy, you should be able to get a passport instantly, just like we issue the Ghana card. Because actually, when we're issuing the Ghana card, and a lot of people don't realize the complexity of it, we are writing more than almost 500 books of data, including a full passport, whether we are behind a village somewhere in Wa or whatever. That's why we need that connectivity. But we are deduplicated in 5 seconds. When we take all your fingerprints, we do that in 5 seconds. So you can imagine the speed of the AFIS. And then we bring back the data in the cloud through a multi-personalization platform. And we write all this information in real time. So basically, why should we have any delay in driver's license or passports and so on? We should remove all the human factors. We've got to have a clean, non-corruptible society where citizens can get their services instantly. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I would want Justina Lane to also have a bite. Once he's spoken about verification, you can just comment on.
Okay, so I like the fact that he answers most of my questions for me. The other thing is our research and development. From where we sit in the financial sector, you want data to be able to come up with products and services that people want and would meet their immediate needs. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of data, and it's also because most people do not have unique identification. So being able to verify and use that, get a lot of data, mine the data and use that will actually help the financial sector to provide products and services that benefit most people. The other thing is loan processing, credit processing, being able to verify who is who, which assets who has. There have been times when we've gone to Lands Commission, gone with a surveyor to try and survey lands, and we find that it's in the sea. We're not technically competent to be able to identify when you give us land documents that this is in the sea, and then we end up taking it. We do our searches, they seem to be right. When we go to the extent of using professionals to verify, we find out that the person is giving us wrong information. Now, when you try to trace the person back, you don't know where the person lives. The address is wrong. Majority of the information that you've been provided with is wrong. If you listen to data from the Bank of Ghana, you realize that the non-performing asset ratios are really high. These are loans that are in default. And going back to be able to access the people and getting your money back becomes such a big deal. So for us, I can't belabor that point. I can't say it enough. We're really, really, really excited about the ability to do this in sparsely populated areas. If you go up north, most people who do good business up north are women. World Bank research, our own research, has actually shown us that most people do not have identification. First and foremost, you can't even reach them because they are sparsely populated and people don't really want to do this. And then when you do go, you realize that the biggest barrier you have is the fact that they don't have any identification. So you can provide them with services that can actually help them to make a better difference. And you know what Kweji Agye said, right? When you educate that woman, you can be sure that you've educated a nation. Men, forgive me, I'm not saying that you don't, but they said it in those times, and it still applies today. When you go up north, especially, you see that the women are the hardest workers. But we have barriers to be able to provide the whichever service. If you're using Momo, you should be able to provide an ID card. So then they are eliminated from those services. If it's a digital banking product that the banks have, they are eliminated. So we are happy that we can be able to tell when you walk into the banking hall. And I was telling Moses that it excites me that this gentleman's card didn't have his glasses, but even with his glasses on, the software was able to tell that it was him, which means that the data that we have is in the right form and will help for us to be able to make differences in our communities economically. Just by being able to verify and authenticate the data that we have. Then lastly, he mentioned something that I just want to emphasize. You have silos of data, and people give you wrong information or, in their opinion, right information. We've had an incident of somebody who actually put in the driver's license his date of birth, which was actually different from his SNIT date of birth. So we're there, and then one day we get a notice from SNIT that says that he has to resign, or he's approaching retirement. We should prepare him for retirement. And he's 3 years shy of the retirement age, as far as we know. So being able to corroborate, if I'm giving you a mortgage product, it has limitations in age. So being able to corroborate all these bits and pieces of data to be able to provide good quality services to Ghanaians is another reason why we can't wait for this verification platform to be up. And of course, it will provide speed of delivery, because when you walk in, and I know it's you, if you have a better credit profile, giving you a loan is easier than when I don't know what your profile is. Credit bureaus that we work with, data is then synchronized across all these levels, and we are truly excited about being able to verify and the extent of verification that can be done using the Ghana card.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Lane. Before I go to Patricia, I would want Prof to also comment on what's just been said.
Well, thank you very much. Let me quickly add that when a person gets a Ghana card, not only do they have an efficient method of identification, but also those who do not have, they get a social security number. They get a personal identification number that is unique to you, that will travel with you from birth to death. And I should quickly add that we are going to register Ghanaians under age 15, that is from age 0 to just under age 15, once the mass registration exercise is over. Now, one of the reasons this is so critical, and that's piggybacking on Elaine's point, you have a situation where some people have applied for the Ghana card, and 6 months on, or 3 months on, or 2 weeks on, they've not had their cards. And it's a source of worry. Generally speaking, 3 reasons underpin the situation. One of 3 reasons, or possibly more. First, the data that we take from you may be so closely similar to the data of another person. For example, if your name is Joseph Mensah, it is conceivable that there are about maybe 100,000 Joseph Mensahs in Ghana, and that your date of birth may coincide with someone's, and that you may also have a certain high level of likeness. In our technical system, if your identity meets a certain threshold with another person's in terms of likeness, then there is a hit, and the system identifies you as a potential problem to be investigated, just to be sure that one person is not attempting to have double registration. That's number one. Number 2 is where a person has a name in our database from, say, 10 years ago during President Kufuor's time or late President Mills's time, they registered. It doesn't matter that you didn't get your card, but if your data has been processed, you are in our system. If at that time you were Joseph Mensah with an H, but you come to us this time with Joe Mensah without an H, the change from Joseph to Joe is a fundamental change. The system will arrest your application. The Mensa without an H is also significant. And so a woman who changes her name but doesn't go through the requisite legal processes, including Gazette notification, but who comes to NIA and presents a different name, presents us with a challenge, and the technical system will arrest that person's application as if it is problematic. But the most common and compelling reason why a lot of people don't get their cards is where there is a change in biography, such as date of birth. A lot of people just elect to change their dates of birth by coming to NIA and pronouncing a new date of birth, especially those who are being vouched for. They are not providing birth certificates, or they have gone to falsely or procured a birth certificate that bears a different date of birth than what was used to register 10 years ago. A person is born only once, and there is only one date of birth. And our technical system will pick up the inconsistencies or contradictions in your date of birth and send your application into adjudication. And a lot of people whose applications or cards have not been released fall into this category. It is extremely important that people present us with accurate and reliable data. And that is what NIA is also established to provide. We are to create a national identity database, a national identification system that is credible, that is dependable, because it is robust, and essentially because it is, to the extent humanly possible, foolproof. And so SNIT will not allow you to have a date of birth that is different. You reduce your age by 3 years as you are approaching retirement. The database that already exists will assist in catching you. It's important that we are truthful, and that is why we are hygienizing the system. Yes, Soniso, we are going to make sure that the database is clean to the extent possible. Those who haven't gotten their Ghana, we assure you we will go through that adjudication process very rapidly. Those that can easily be released after verification, we will do so. We'll contact all of those whose applications have some problem and work with them to quickly release that, so that at the end of the day, the document you get is a trusted document, and the database that we construct is a reliable database.
Thank you very much,
sir.
Prof. I indicated earlier on that Patricia, who is the Data Protection Commissioner, is always guiding us on how to go about stuff. So you realized she was asking us very critical questions about what we just demonstrated. Patricia, tell us our rights as data subjects or citizens. What are some of our rights that we need to know? And how are you as a commission helping or assisting NIA to be compliant?
Okay, so the right to privacy, like I said before, is a fundamental human right. And some of the rights that we have about 10 rights under the Act. I won't bore you with all of them, but some of the important ones you need to have to be aware of today in relation to how your identity is managed is your right to participate in the decision-making of the identification authority, because they are charged to create the means by which you can be uniquely identified. When I say participation, what we are doing here is part of the participation, discussing with you the process that you have to go through, the challenges and how they are going to be addressed. And Prof has just raised one of the major challenges that people usually raise to the commission, that you've gone in, you've submitted all your detail, but a card has not been issued. He's just explained that there's an adjudication process in there. What the commission would support is that the process of adjudication is made more transparent, that it is published where we can all find out what you have to go through if there's a problem with your ID, that you are clearly aware of the timelines it will take, and you are allowed to participate in that decision making as to whether there's truly a full submission or just an error. When that is happening, you have the right as an individual to object if you feel that It's a wrong throw up from the system. Perhaps on the day that you were telling your date of birth, you got the digits mixed up when you were filling the form, or somehow some people are dyslexic enough to have got the year wrong or whatever. You need to be given a hearing and not a decision that doesn't involve you defending yourself. That is enabling data subject participation. So that is a right that you have to be able to be engaged, even if there's a problem with your data. You have the right to ensure that, to demand that your data is kept accurate. A lot of what we have discussed today tells us and gives me a lot of confidence in the fact that the team that is managing the card system and the authority are making every effort to maintain the accuracy of the data, because at the end of the day, most government institutions are going to rely on this ID to uniquely identify you. So you have the right to demand rectification if there's something wrong with the data. You have the right to also ask about how the data is managed and who will have access to the data. We know that the data will not just sit with the NIA. Other institutions will be given access to the data, and you have a right to be informed about who will have access to the data, why they will have access, how long they will have access to the data, and when they finish using your data, what will happen to your data. In order for the NIA not to be responding to each individual and the millions of people in the country, the Commission stands in your stead and holds the institutions such as the card developer and the authority accountable. And when we say we hold them accountable, we ensure that they are putting the measures that are necessary in place to ensure that your privacy is continuously respected and your data is continuously safeguarded. So you have some of these rights, and the Commission, the Data Protection Commission, stands in your stand. If you read our law under 2A, it says our highest priority is to ensure that your privacy is protected. So instead of all of us marching and queuing at NIA with a million questions, the Data Protection Commission stands in your stead and asks some of these critical questions that protects your rights under the law. Having said all of that, if you're still unhappy with how you're being identified, or delays, or some challenges with how your data is to be handled by the authority, you have every right to complain. So your complaints must first go to the NIA or the institution that develops a card to inform them that you are not happy about something concerning how you're being identified. If they act promptly and respond to your complaints to your satisfaction, then we are all happy. If you are not still satisfied with the response you get there, you have every right to come to the Commission, and again we will stand in your stead and hold the institution accountable, challenge them to address your concerns, to make sure that we are all being our rights are being respected under the data protection law and as a fundamental human right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As the moderator, I'm not supposed to participate, but just to say that I have been trained by Madam as a data protection practitioner for NIA. So even though I'm here as a moderator, we also take all data protection related matters very, very seriously. And if you go to our website, the law that mandates what we do is also there and tells you how mindful we are about these things. And I've just been told that time is fast spent. I also want to add that the cards you have received, make sure you keep them well. Don't misplace the cards, because in replacing the card, I'm just holding here fees and charges that have just been passed. So if you misplace a card, you'll be paying, for those who be issued with 2D barcodes, those who are 14 years and below, will be paying 15 Ghana cedis for replacement and renewals. And for those of you who have the smart card, if you misplace your card, you'll be paying 30 Ghana cedis, and for renewal, 30 Ghana cedis. Now, Andrew also spoke about updates. Any update So you lived in Kotobabi, now you are in Kumasi. You have to update your digital address. Any update that doesn't affect the information on the card, for which we have to replace the card, is free. So you are encouraged to always update your information with NIA because it has to be accurate. And other state institutions will rely on the data we have. Mind you, it is free if it won't affect the card. That is, if you've changed your name, that will affect the card that you pay for. But any other information that is not going to affect the information on the face of the card is for free. So also take note, for those of you who haven't registered, when you go to register, there's a slip that will be given to you. It's not a receipt. It is a slip for you to be sure the information on that slip is accurate. It is that same information that will appear on the face of your card. So if the name is not spelled properly and you quickly sign, that is the card that will be printed with a mistake. And we have to change the card, so you'll be paying for it. Ladies and gentlemen, I think it's been a very, very interesting session. Unfortunately, I can't take questions from the audience because of time, but I think we should put our hands together for the panelists for honoring our invitation. We also invited some participants who are with us today. We also appreciate you very much for coming. Shall we put our hands together for them? I also want us to acknowledge the brain behind the results fair. Our Honorable Minister, Honorable Anthony Akutose. Shall we put our hands together for him? And his team. I believe they would be addressing us when we come to an end. Audience, you've been fantastic. Please put your hands together for yourself. I wish you all the best and God bless.
Mr. Francis Palmdetti, for moderating this wonderful session. It's been a good insight into everything that we needed to know about NIA and our Ghana card and all other issues. And to you, panelists, thank you so much for sharing your wonderful thoughts and knowledge with us. To the Honorable Minister for Monitoring and Evaluation and your team, thank you so much for this maiden edition of the Results Fair. I am sure it's going to be an annual affair. If not, I am sure the way he's laughed, I'm sure it's going to be. So thank you very much. It's been 3 days of excitement and interesting interactions with our ministers of state who have come to share their thoughts and answered our questions that are bogging our minds. And to all those stakeholders in the private sector who also made time to be with us, we are most grateful. All too soon, our 3 days fair is coming to a close. And so, without much ado, I'll invite the Acting Chief Director of the Ministry of Monitoring and Evaluation, Mr. Kwabna Ejay Boache, to give us the way forward. Please, a bigger round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you very much, MC. Honorable Minister for Monitoring and Evaluation, Honorable Deputy Minister, Chief Directors, students, and distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Monitoring and evaluation is everybody's business. Historically, people thought that monitoring and evaluation is policing. Follow people wherever they go. Ask them questions, whether it's interesting, relevant, or not. But realize that monitoring and evaluation is a management tool. It's intended to help policymakers, implementers to make the right choices, and once the choices are made, to walk through and ensure that results are achieved. So what we did this week, especially these 3 days, the idea is that you and I have a part to play in ensuring that government objectives are realized. This work was done in a special way. We believe that the civil service actors are capable of playing their part in the process. What you see here, the design, the floor, and everything was led by ISD in the Ministry of Information. It tells you the capability and the skill that they have. It means that when they are given the space, they can do wonders. So we thank colleagues from ISD for the fantastic work. You realize that the MCs for yesterday and today are all for ISD. We have the people who can deliver. Honorable Minister, I'll ask permission if my colleagues from the other ministries, the focal persons are here. I just want to let participants see them that it's a teamwork across all the ministries. When the Ministry of Monitoring and Evaluation was established, our belief is that we don't have to take over the work of the other ministries, but we just have to facilitate their work as an enabler to ensure that they're able to do their work. Straight away, we established what is called M&E focal persons across all the ministries. These are the policy planning, monitoring, and evaluation departments. Our role is to equip them, empower them, and give them space to do their work. So throughout this journey, we've done with them. The idea is that they own it, they use it, and it helps to do their work. We are thinking about sustainable M&E, not hit and run M&E. M&E that will endure over time and ensure that the culture in Ghana is enhanced. Students here can understand that I know some people are growing the passion and want to join us in the future. M&E is the way to go. We are in the 4th industrial revolution. Data is critically important. How we are able to use data to add value to your decision is critically important. What lies ahead of us after this journey? This is the beginning of something exciting in Ghana. The idea is that this culture must go down even to the district. But you know that we must do that incrementally. So what is going to happen after this one is that we'll be moving to the regions. But before we do that, as evaluators, we want to evaluate ourselves. And we do the evaluation together with all the MDS you saw displaying. So all the focal persons together with our ministry will sit down and reflect. Because we set for ourselves an objective and we'll find out if the objectives have been achieved, what lessons have come out. I don't know if you were fortunate to have been interviewed. Colleagues spoke with other people about their impression, honest opinion about the process. Well, the process is as important as the product. So we'll meet and discuss and see where we can tweak, where we can enhance to move forward. M&E Ministry has exciting moments ahead, especially 2020. 2019, focus more on monitoring. 2020, we're doing a little bit of evaluations. And because we are thinking about cost-effective approaches and fit-for-purpose methodologies, we are looking at homegrown approach to do evaluation. We're looking more at rapid evaluations. We've done one already with one village, one dam. We'll be doing one district, one factory, and the other interventions as well. So that at least we'll be able to get the evidence story. As M&E person, I'm extremely careful in choice of words. If you understand the theory of change and you know the results chain, you realize that people say impact when they mean outcomes. We are in the realm of talking about emerging outcomes. What changes are happening as a result of the interventions. And that is exactly what we are focusing. One of the things that the ministry is also focusing is how to expand the space for engagement. The ministry will continue to provide training for PPMEDs and support other areas. 2020 as well, we'll be working with Ghana M&E together with UNICEF to do what we call Ghana Evaluation Week. Across the globe, there are evaluation weeks that goes on. This year we'll have ours. And UNICEF is accepting to work with us. And at that time, I think we'll invite all of you. There are a number of things that the ministry will be doing. We invite all of you to visit the ministry, see what we do, how we do it. We have an open door policy. Open door policy is that every question is relevant. Please come and let's share ideas. If you want details beyond this, you can come and see us. Thank you very much. I also want to acknowledge other partners who have worked with us. We try to keep this work very efficient and very cost effective. But I want to introduce one personality who worked with us, Dr. Ameyao. He's a friend and partner to the ministry. He's been instrumental in the work, and you will continue to see him in the work that we do. Thank you all very much. As I leave the mic to the MC, God bless you all.
Thank you, sir. God bless us all. Amen. So finally, we'll have our closing remarks by the Honorable Deputy Minister for Monitoring and Evaluation, Honorable William Kwesi Sabi, also MP for Doma Central. Please give him a round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just a small correction. I'm the MP for Doma East, not Doma Central. Honorable Minister, Professor Techua, who is a member of Ministry of Monitoring and Evaluation Board, our friend Dr. Ameao, NIA Executive Secretary, and all other invited guests who have been with us throughout. As it always say, all too soon we have come to an end of this program. It has been 3 days, but many people will have wished that we continue because of what has come out of this interaction. We thank God the Ministry of Monitoring and Evaluation is now getting to the public domain and they are getting to know us. But let me admit, as my minister always says, we are not a public relations body. We are there to support government to implement its development interventions. And in offering some kind of management strengthening systems, you don't go out publicly to go and tell people what you have identified in the course of doing your job. Many people have been accusing us that they don't even hear of Ministry of Monitoring and Evaluation, to the extent that some people have even advocated that the ministry should be scrapped. I believe that what we have seen these 3 days will vindicate us and will vindicate the President of the Republic of Ghana for establishing Ministry of Monitoring and Evaluation. As the Chief Director said, the world is going in to the direction that one needs to know and monitor what is going on, and data is very important. As it's said in Chi, that he who is making the path that doesn't know that his back is crooked. If I should do literal translation, it calls for somebody who knows how to also trace your path to be able to help you straighten up those that are crooked. And that is what the Ministry of Monitoring and Evaluation has been doing with the colleague ministries and agencies. As you might have realized from what we have been doing for the 3 days, we are not implementers of the policies and programs of government or the interventions that are coming out. But we are supposed to offer some kind of technical support and strengthening to those who are implementing those interventions. The 3 days that we've been here has been meant to showcase what we've been able to do with these ministries and agencies over the past 2.5 to 3 years. And you agree with me that we have not finished. That is why we said, our theme said, delivering results, a work in progress. It is still in progress. But as we say in monitoring and evaluation, there's what we call resource chain. At each stage, something occurs, and whatever occurs, we want to know what has come out. We think we have reached a milestone where many things have happened and results have come out. Hence, this results fair. We are believing that we will be able to improve upon what we've been doing even better with your comments and contributions from what has happened within the 3 days. We entreat that our colleague ministries and agencies will continue to work with us. We've enjoyed your collaboration for the past 2.5 to 3 years, and we are very grateful to you. At first, when the ministry was established, one of the misgivings was that whether the minister will even give us the space to do that, because it's like you are trying to correct what they are doing and more or less tell them what to do. But we've tried as much as possible to avoid telling, but rather to be doing things together. And in this note that I'm very grateful to our minister, Honorable Anthony Dr. Kotuse, for the approach that he has actually been leading us to use. He is the coach type. Maybe they need him to help Black Stars. He coaches. He doesn't dictate to you as to what to do. And if you are prepared to learn, you go very far with working with Dr. Anthony Kotuse. Minister, we are very grateful to you. We are also very grateful to all our staff a team from the office for the wonderful work you have done, and from Ministry of Information, the wonderful work, the wonderful collaboration that we have enjoyed with you. As I've said, we continue to enjoy this with you. We hope as we leave here, we will not leave what we have learned out, and that we go out to even do more. As we are closing here, the exhibition continues. We are not closing the exhibition, but we are closing this session of the program. And as it has been said, we'll be moving to the regions. Please go and tell it on the mountain that Ministry of Monitoring and Evaluation is moving to the regions. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Honorable. And I'd like to also acknowledge and thank, on behalf of the Ministry of Monitoring and Evaluation, Alpha and your team for the wonderful work you did with the design of the logo and for managing the ministry social media platforms throughout this fair. God richly bless you. That's what they tell you.